most people get into cryptocurrency or Bitcoin because they think they can make money in it, and they've seen the performance of it, and then they get involved and they realize that, okay, maybe I invested at the peak, which most people have done. And then what happens? The market instantly drops literally the next day. Bitcoin is money. Bitcoin is a store of value that people are seeing, a greater store of value than any other asset class, including gold. I think the best example we have, right, is the .com. These companies that were all bricks and mortar, then creating a digital version of that company where they could sell products online. Who's going to use that? That sounds stupid. Now everyone is using digital forms of that business. True ownership, full custody and ownership of your own assets.
Let's talk about very clearly what crypto is not. For many months, people have been asking me to investigate cryptocurrency. What is it? How's it used? What's it even about? And I thought, what a great idea. I'll declare I'm a fan of it. You'll find out why, I hope. And you'll make your own judgment in any case. If you're even mildly curious about it, have a listen to this. This is the first episode, and we're going to cover the 101s of cryptocurrency. Come and have a listen. Joe, for months people have been asking me, and I mean months, what is the deal with cryptocurrency? Some of them have a very positive view, some are curious and neutral, others have a negative view. And I'm just listening. One of my clients yesterday said, oh, this is going to be great. Can you do crypto for dummies? I said, I won't call it that because you're not a dummy, but maybe crypto 101. Let's start with first principles. What is it? Where did it come from? Why does it exist? Where's it going?
Yeah,
maybe,
yeah, that's a great question. So I think the best place to start is if we rewind firstly why I got into it, and then where it stemmed from, and the underlying intrinsic value of it. Because most people get into cryptocurrency or Bitcoin in particular, let's just use Bitcoin, because they think they can make money in it. And they've seen the performance of it, and then they get involved and they realize that, okay, maybe I invested at the peak, which most people have done, 2017 top, 2021 top, the local top that we've recently had. And it's no different to gold. We've seen the lines of people queuing out of the door when gold was at its recent all-time high, 4,500 US. And then what happens? The market instantly drops literally the next day, which I called out was going to happen because of the psychology of an investor. So when we separate cryptocurrency from the way that people actually interact with it, then you get a different perspective. Because then you're moving away, oh, I bought the top, oh, it's volatile, oh, doesn't it, like, everyone sees it on the mainstream media and then it drops the next day. If you separate those things out, then we start to understand what cryptocurrency is, because then we can go back to the fundamentals of it. I got into Bitcoin because of the Cypriot bank bail-ins that happened, where they imploded. The banks imploded because they were over leveraged, they were doing the wrong things, the same as the US, when they were literally giving keys to customers with zero down payment, and then months later saying, thanks, we'll take all that back. The same as when the APRs increase all of a sudden, and they start offering these excessive outcomes, interest rates as an example, because they're trying to get as much money into the bank as possible before they say, sorry, we knew exactly what was going on, and we just lured everyone into the trap. And then when there was enough people in the trap, we just pulled it because we knew that we were imploding anyway. So that's the core reason as to why I got into it. If you fast track even back when the birth of Bitcoin was back on the back of the GFC, right? It is all to do with fractions within our traditional financial system, proving again and again it's broken. $38 trillion debt rate. It is broken. And the bubble keeps expanding, and people call crypto monopoly money, but they don't understand that there's only 21 million Bitcoin that's ever gone into circulation. 96% is currently being mined. By 2030, 99% will have been mined. By 2140, 100% will be mined and in circulation. You cannot create any more. US dollars. Following what happened with the pandemic, 80% of the entire monetary supply was printed over 18 months. And then what happened? Oh my God, this inflation thing is getting out of control. We need to have the highest and the most extreme interest rate hike we've ever had in history. It's just the whole paradox of our financial system needed to be flipped on its head. And Bitcoin is the solution for that. And some people learn about the technology, and some people take the time to understand what they're investing in, and others use it as a gambling instrument, and they think, oh, I can make a ton of money, and they get in, they get burnt. Crypto's bad. Well, no, crypto's not bad. Crypto's the absolute pinnacle of a financial system and what money is, because money is just the agreement upon something having value. And it's a new financial system where we're agreeing it has value, and the value that we agree upon is absolutely explosive because it's the highest performing asset class in history. So I just wanted to kind of give two different scenarios or separate that out and help people to understand Bitcoin is money. Bitcoin is a store of value that people are seeing, a greater store of value than any other asset class, including gold.
Yes, it is. Yep.
If you look at the gold and Bitcoin chart, the value of gold against Bitcoin has gone one way, and it has these short spikes, and everyone's like, gold's amazing, gold's better than Bitcoin, and then it retraces fully. If we look back at the recent spike, not the recent spike, the prior spike that gold had against Bitcoin, that 100% retraced. And then we've had another spike, and both of those spikes have hit the downtrend, and we continue to downtrend now against the performance of Bitcoin. So without saying too much, and I know that you're probably going to cut some of this up, and as you can see, I'm very passionate because I want people to understand what crypto really is and not see it just as an investment vehicle that's outperforming every other asset class in history. This year has sucked. I don't deny that. And I'm not blinded by the lights, but I'm talking long term, since inception, over the last 15, 16 years, to where we are now. It is the highest performing asset class in history by a country mile. BlackRock, Fidelity, Citadel, the US, like there's so much writing on the wall as to where we are at with this new form of currency, new form of store of value. And some people get it and they're looking long term, and some people are just trying to make a quick buck. And that's the polarizing difference of the people that are moving into the market and the results and the outcomes of what people are getting.
Joe, the same thing happened with the stock market in the early days, and arguably it still happens now. There are a tranche of people who get in who think, I'll make a quick buck. And invariably, they're not going to do particularly well. But the people who take a longer term view, take the time to understand it, go, aha, I know what this is. I know how to navigate the system. And I know how to set my expectations to what the outcomes could be, because it's still a marketplace.
Well, I think the best example we have, right, is the dot-com. The dot-com boom, these companies that were all bricks and mortar, then creating a digital version of that company where they could sell products online. Who's going to use that? That sounds stupid. Now, everyone is using digital forms of that business. Everyone. If you don't have a digital form of your business, and that doesn't mean, let's say I've just had a haircut, my hairdresser is a physical business, but they're still using the digital form for customer acquisition, for booking systems, for where are they on Google Maps. So they still have a digital footprint. And without that, they won't succeed because there's so many customers or competitors, that will have the digital footprint. Now, in the inception, everyone laughed at it. It went through the boom and bust cycle. And then out of the bust cycle, we've had some companies that are now trillion-dollar companies, Amazon, Facebook, etc., that have shown the value in what they were doing. People were looking at the price. And it's exactly the same as why I did so well in 2018. Everyone was looking at the price going down. I looked at the value. The value of the technology never changed. People's perception of the technology changed. Nothing changed. And that's where I went really hard, because I was like, well, hold on a second. I still believe in this. There's no fundamental differences. Bitcoin didn't get hacked. There wasn't a 51% attack. There wasn't a violation of the blockchain. It is still the same technology. It's just the price and the perceived value of it went up and down. And through any market, we go through over retracements. Same as the dot-com boom. It went overvalued, undervalued. New technology. Cryptocurrency is a new technology, overvalued, undervalued. And we go through these cycles, which are more in tandem with the liquidity and business cycles, which everyone thought was the halving. And then obviously we learn more as time goes on. But just understanding the core fundamentals, not even just the stock market as a whole. You can make a lot of money in a short period of time in the stock market, even as a new market participant, if you understand what you're doing. But if you get in and you make a lot of money, it doesn't mean that you're going to sell the top.
Yes.
And that's where the understanding, you don't necessarily have to be a long-term investor in anything that you do to be successful. But if you understand the technology and you understand the strategies and how to manage your risk, those two things combined together, you become unstoppable as an investor.
So that's just talking about the investment side of the equation. Talk to me about the cryptocurrency ecosystem. What is it? Because cryptocurrency isn't just Bitcoin. It's way, way more than that.
27 million cryptos, to be more precise. The way that I would think of it is just I like to use analogies or relatable examples so people get it. Because if you look in crypto in singularity, you mention the word crypto to most people, straight away they close off their receptors in their brain and say, this is overwhelming, I can't do that. Which again is human psychology when it comes to investing in a variety of different things. But if we go back to the dot-com boom cycle, was it just the Amazons of people selling books online? Or was it them selling computers? Or was it them selling a range of different products or services or anything online? And that's the same as cryptocurrency. Everyone is doing, or not everyone, but there's certainly competitions in different sectors of the market. Some are privacy-based tokens, full anonymity. Some are layer one solutions that allow you to have transactional throughput, which is scalable, and then therefore it's more of a currency that you could spend. And they've built a blockchain that other people can build on top of, like going to the Apple App Store and you have all these different apps. That's what an Ethereum blockchain effectively is. It allows people to build different apps on top of their app store. Very simple analogy. So there's many different purposes that are served through different types of blockchains. If you think about DeFi, you can almost relate it to the banking sector. You give your money to a bank and they lend it out, and through that lending, there's an interest rate that's incurred and they give you some of that money back. And that's how you can make money on DeFi. So there's many different markets, different understandings, gaming, AI solutions, it's endless. And that's where cryptocurrency isn't just financial, it is everything. What excites me a lot about cryptocurrency is tokenization. So if I'm an angel investor into new projects that come out, and I have $1 million invested in Uber, and Uber does a 100,000x as an example, and I'm locked up for a 7-8 year period, what if I could tokenize my investment and then start to offload some of that distribution early? What if I want to buy an investment property, but I can't afford an investment property right now because they're so expensive and I don't want to lock all my capital up in these things because you want assets and whatever it is for the investor? What if you could tokenize that property? What if you could tokenize the investment into that? What if you could tokenize a piece of art? What if you could tokenize everything? And then through that have an open source market where you can buy and sell from different people for fractions of stuff, or being able to invest and extract things. It's all to do with liquidity, right? So it opens up liquidity pools. So the crypto world is so vast, so expansive, and the opportunities are really on so many parallels in every single sector there is in the world right now. Digital art's being done. The tokenization of properties being done in Australia right now. I know my friend owns the company. So it's just wild how vast this sector is. And it's understanding it from the grassroots to see the opportunities.
Can I pitch a thought to you, Joe?
Please.
In trying to explain the crypto ecosystem to somebody who knows nothing about it, and even the word crypto doesn't mean anything to them. Imagine when the industrial era first started. Everything was new. We went from people having to do every task manually to actually having what we would describe today as crude machines. That was a massive change. And we go, that's the industrial era. Crypto, that ecosystem, represents for me the transformation from the industrial era into the true digital era.
Absolutely.
But the benefit of that is it gives every human being on the planet access to everything in that ecosystem directly. You don't need a broker. You don't need a bank. Don't need a bank account necessarily. But it also means you have access at a fraction of the price because you don't have intermediaries that charge huge fees. And even if you have $1, that is enough for you to participate. So the barrier to entry is almost zero.
Absolutely.
And that's never been the case on this whole planet ever.
True ownership. Full custody and ownership of your own assets. Because if you think about everything, even your money in the bank, that's fractionally reserved, lent out, and you go and ask your bank for large quantities of money, the bank will quiz you, will tell you no, will tell you have to book the money in, and may even dismiss it altogether. They'll find reasons not to give you large amounts of cash. So you don't really own that money. And if there's a bank bail-in, which is in Australia, you're only insured up to 250K. That's why I've got so many different bank accounts, which drives me insane. But that's something that most people don't even realize. I was just getting my hair cut before. That's why it's looking so sharp.
You look very, very slick, Joe.
And I was chatting to my hairdresser, and he's always asking me questions. He knows what I do, and he sees all my content online and my ads and everything. And he was asking me questions around cryptocurrency. And I said, one of the core reasons that I invested into crypto was equality. Everyone in the world, especially in developing countries where this is most needed, now have the opportunity to interact on a global scale. I don't accept M-Pesa, but I accept Bitcoin. So all the African nations that are using phone text credit as currency because of hyperinflation, because they printed their money into oblivion, and they literally have $100 billion notes that aren't even worth the paper they're printed on, they now can interact on a digital scale globally. But the stats are 78% of them or something were unbanked or still are unbanked. So now they have a true banking facilitation operation that's global in their hands, which is incredible. And that to me is true freedom. And that's why I align so much to cryptocurrency, because vibrationally, to me, it's spiritual money. It's true freedom. And we have a right to have full ownership of our money. We have a right to have true freedom, not in a world that's imposed with taxation, not in a world that's imposed with these rules and restrictions of how you should behave and what you can and can't do. And I know it might be wearing a tinfoil hat and living in on a mud patch, growing your own vegetables, but that's how once we lived. And we had a barter system, but now we've got an agreement upon a digital form of currency that can be transacted globally. And to me, that is incredible. That is everything. It's the pinnacle of a true financial system.
I think, and in addition, it solves a lot of current problems.
That's why it exists.
Yeah,
so all on the back of the GFC, correct. Right? It solves all the broken problems of printing money, the control of interest rate decisions, or the control just to hit the money printer and put more into existence. It completely undermines all of that with code, which is law, and a decentralized network that has to agree upon a change for the network. And that's where we see hard forks, which is disagreements, and that's where Bitcoin Cash. I remember the first days of that, where there was a big upheaval in the community of a change to the underlying Bitcoin code, and purists were like, no, we should keep it as this, and Bitcoiners were saying, no, we need to improve it for throughput. And that's why there was a separation. That's amazing. The community were involved in that decision-making process, and a new crypto was born. It's not the government and a few people at the top that do often what's beneficial for them. Most of them are one percenters. Most of them will print more money or want more money printed. Why? Because it elevates their property price. It's like the first time home buyer. Oh, we'll give you a grant of more money. What does that do? It elevates the whole financial price.
Yeah, it does.
Model.
Yep.
It doesn't help. It doesn't help. It helps the one percenters at the top, which we are in the 1%, and we're very lucky, but it's just really the gap of separation continues to expand, and all fingers point to the solution being Bitcoin.
So I'm going back to 101 for people who will get lost in the detail. But if we were to agree for a moment that it is the transition into the new digital economy, when I look at the top 20, 50 cryptocurrencies, they're actually real operating businesses behind them, bar Bitcoin as a store of value. It's the equivalent to gold in my head. But these other operations, they're actual businesses, like we would have a hard business here on the ground. So they're not some ethereal, coin that somebody made up. And I assess them, as I'm investing, I assess them the same as we would do an ASX listed company. You go, who's behind it? What's its market cap? What problem is it solving? Where's its competitive advantage? It's exactly the same. So there's no mystery in this. I think the mystery's been created in the hype and some of what I term the deliberate confusion to keep people away from it, because there are a whole horde of people who would benefit if the digital economy didn't exist.
Absolutely.
And you can't stop it, by the way. You cannot stop it.
I used to say, when I used to speak at events back in the day, before crypto was really a thing, I used to say crypto is everything people don't understand about finance and technology combined.
Mm.
And going back to a point that I made before, I truly believe that we have been conditioned so greatly for such extended periods of time, where when something new comes out, it's very hard for people to think, because we are not creating thinkers at school. And I was talking to my son. My son doesn't realize how lucky he is. He will do when he grows up. And I was telling him the difference between a thinker and a doer. And I said, your dad is a thinker. I think and I get people to do. And what we want to understand is through our schooling system, we are creating doers so that everyone gets this is a very generalization. Obviously, there's slight variations of this, but typically it's an outdated system, which everyone knows, and we've spoken about this for a long time, so there's nothing new, right? So if you've got a world of doers, and then all of a sudden there's a few thinkers that evolve from that, because they've fortunately been born into an incredible family where their parents teach them outside of the financial system or homeschool them even more so. Then from there, they're trying to interact and teach this stuff to doers. And doers are just scratching their head like, what are you talking about? I'm here to use my hands. I'm here to clock on and clock off when the bell sounds. I'm here to do what the teacher tells me to do, which doesn't change when I go on the construction site. And that is the reality of the situation for 95, 98% of people in existence. So when you talk about these new concepts of .com, of crypto, of AI, of quantum computing, people are sitting there scratching their heads because they are so far conditioned into don't think outside the box. If a stranger talks to you, don't talk to them. And that's like the crypto thing. If something strange comes up, don't talk to it. It's a scam. It's a scam. It's 100% a scam. It's monopoly money. It must be monopoly money.
So let's talk about
trapped, right?
Yeah. It's a spin out. Let's talk about very clearly what crypto is not. What isn't it?
Yeah, it's not a scam, is what I will start by saying. And that's proven in 15 years of being here, in the adoption rate, in the actual technology, and the amount of times it's been challenged. So there are the things that I would say it's not. It's not this magic wand as well. And I do want to say this, I think it's really important. It's not this magic wand that you chuck $100 in and you get $10,000 out in 2 months. Because that's one thing that I think a lot of people thought it was. And that's a lot of what's being portrayed in YouTube videos and crypto educators online. And they are leading them in with that. Hey, this guy got these returns. Hey, this guy did this. Hey, I've done that. And when you really break it down, they were shilling a crypto online that people invested in, boost their bags, and then they dump the top. So I think it's not a gambling instrument. It is a revolution of a financial system, and beyond that, I talk about Bitcoin in particular. And now there are some things that it's not, but also what it is.
Yeah, I think they're really important for people to hang on to. And I still go back to the transformation into the digital era. If you can get your head around that, I think you'll land in a space where you go, okay, I know I can understand what it's not. And I'll tell you, well, I won't tell you, my apologies for the wording. If it was a scam, you would not have the institutions now getting on board. You would not have the ETFs being listed in the US across all of these digital currencies, not cryptocurrency, digital currencies, as solid forward-looking investments. All of the old guard traditionalists who were detractors in the early days, you see them now coming on board going, okay, maybe this isn't what I thought it was, and I better get on board because if I don't, I might miss the boat.
Yeah, and I do think, just to add to that, the unfortunate reality behind it is JP Morgan founder Jamie Dimon called Bitcoin a fraud, and then they released JPM coin, and then they're one of the biggest investors in Bitcoin, and then they're creating their own trading desk, and now they're looking to lend out Bitcoin and ETFs that you hold, or lend against it, giving you custody opportunity as well. So what I always say is watch what people do and not what they say. Is the reality of it. Donald Trump, not Donald Trump, Berkshire Hathaway. What's his name? You know the guy.
Oh, come on. Yeah, I do. I don't know why it's not coming to my mind.
He called Bitcoin rat poison squared, and then went and invested $500 million into a crypto-based platform that offered cryptocurrency exposure. So I tend to watch what people do and not what they say. But when they say certain things, do I position myself strategically for it? Absolutely. And unfortunately, we live in a world where people are manipulating pricing, and God bless him, Donald Trump is probably the most influential of this, I would hate to say, which seems crazy, that he's actually able to create his own cryptocurrencies or make comment on it and have investment opportunity into it. I think about when I've done certain things with Stansberry, the largest financial publisher in the US. If I mentioned any cryptocurrency, I wasn't able to own it. Where he's literally doing things and taking actions on stuff that is going to impact the price and hedging himself against it. So yeah, we live in a strange time. There's films, I can't think of some of the films, where they have like this wrestler that is then the president of a country, and it's just so ridiculous. And I feel like that's almost where we're at now, where we're going through the most ridiculous time where things are happening that probably shouldn't happen, and we need more imposed things to try and help the day-to-day investor operate successfully in a regulated environment, where that's what I know is happening more so for cryptocurrency, but the actors that happen. And I do actually think it's worth mentioning, just on a similar topic as well, and you have to stop me sometimes. I laugh when I talk at events and people give me a microphone and then say, talk about crypto. I'm like, you don't realize what you just done. I literally won't stop talking. I'm like this explosion of thoughts. But I think that we need to really understand. I've lost my trail of thought there. I was getting too excited.
Way too excitement from your end, Joe.
It's. I think people laugh because they're just like, how does this guy have so much enthusiasm about crypto? Isn't crypto boring? And I'm like, man, if you think crypto is boring, you just haven't got it yet. Yeah. But anyway, that's. Yeah, I'm not sure where I was going with that point, but I'm sure it's something interesting. But we lose track.
I think for people new to it and just listening, hopefully they get a sense of what it is and what it isn't. There are great investment opportunities that aside, and I view it like the stock market in the early days. There are going to be really good, solid people in it. There are going to be people who want to take advantage and will find ways to do it. No different. From my perspective, the big institutions coming in is a great thing. Over a period of time, that provides more stability in the system. I think that's good for everyone. So I think if you look from the outside and you look back over the last 15 years, what you might find is a macro narrative of increased stability. And I think that will continue. The market will continue to grow. How many billions of dollars is the crypto market at the moment, Joe? Roughly?
I think trillion. I think it's closing up on 3 or 4 trillion.
Yeah, massive. From where it's come from to where it is right now. So it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. So for those people who want to invest in it, I would say, hopefully I'll be able to grab you on another podcast so we can start to talk investment. Joe does actually run the Cryptocurrency Institute, a wonderful place for really good quality education, no nonsense, actually teach you step by step what it's all about, how to do what you need to do, how to keep yourself safe. I'd highly recommend it. I've done it myself, so I'll put my hand up and say...
No, I just want to sum that point up very quickly because I think this is super important. We're actually about to launch a new ad on the back of this. There's a ton of crypto educators that I see ads popping up everywhere for now. And some of them are actually celebrating how much money they're making through selling courses. And when I look at this, it really triggers me because they are not successful in cryptocurrency. They have made money selling crypto courses. I made money in cryptocurrency, and then I chose my purpose and passion in life to serve people through a proven system that had worked, that I'd used, that had made incredible amounts of money, that freed me. And then I was like, right now I need to choose, what do I want to do on this planet? How can I serve people? Because I believe the highest frequency we have other than love is contribution. So I wanted to serve and contribute to people. And that is the difference between CCI and pretty much every other crypto education company out there. The reason that we get the results that we do with our clients is because the leader of the company has got results themselves. You cannot possibly, or you shouldn't, be teaching people about education in a space if you haven't been successful. And it pulls me back to a memory, which it was probably the funniest thing, but quite inappropriate. Sitting in, I studied finance at uni, sitting in one of my lectures with my teacher teaching me about stocks and shares and understanding intrinsic value, etc. And he turned around and he was sharing all these things. And I said, sir, what stocks do you own? What are you doing? Maybe we can learn more about specifics of that rather than just generalistic models. And he turned around and said, I don't own any stocks. And I started laughing and I said, what the fuck are you doing teaching us then? And I said that word for word in the class. And after I said it, because I must have, you can see I'm bouncing off the wall half the time. And I was like, oh, I can't take that back. And I put my hands over my mouth. I remember it like it was yesterday. And everyone just looked at me and I was like, I'm so sorry. I meant what I said, but I probably could have said it a bit politer. But why are you teaching us about something you don't do yourself? And there's doing it yourself, and then there's being successful and having a proven track record and a background in what you're doing. And this is the broken system that we continue to repeat in different sectors. People are seeing opportunities in AI. So what do? They go and make an AI course. Well, do you run a successful business that you've integrated AI with, and that you can show that you went from $10 million in revenue this year to 20 million and cut your staff, and it's a proven case? Well, there's not many people doing that. So I think this is the big paradox in crypto. Many people think there's experts out there because they're a couple of steps ahead of them. But I would always argue, go and have a look at their actual financial results, not Trustpilot. And I'm grateful we're the top-rated crypto education company on Trustpilot. But what I'm more grateful for is when I look and we've created $56 million in client profits so far, which I actually think is far greater than that. And we're doing a bit of a fishing experiment at the minute to find more of that out. But that is a financial result, which is based off someone who's actually been successful, because I know teaching strategies, teaching security, teaching what cryptos to buy because of an analysis process, that's not success. Because if you take a Formula One car, if you think of that, that's the Formula One car, there's still someone that has to drive that car. And if that person doesn't understand how to take action when the market goes through a 20% drawdown, and they're in mass fear and they don't take action when the 100K is the level to be buying, but they can't do it because they haven't worked on this. That's the difference of working with someone who's worked on this and is successful, and then pairs you up with a Formula One car. So how I think of it, we're more so creating Formula One drivers, then we put them in a Formula One car, and then we put them around Formula One drivers, which is the community of other people that are in there who have all elevated. That's the difference of a successful crypto education company, that the founder is here to serve and is truly aligned to it, in comparison to one that wants to make money and they use crypto education as the product of them making money, and maybe they invest some of it in crypto, I don't know, or they go and rent out private jets and do all the shit they probably shouldn't do because they never had money before. And to take that a step further using a real life experience for me, so I did a half marathon, I did a marathon, then I ended up doing a bodybuilding competition, a bit strange. And then I got into the Ironman stuff. So the first thing that I did, because I obviously wanted to do the full Ironman, I wanted to do really well. The first thing I did is went and found the best coach that I could find. Exactly the same as when I did the bodybuilding, but not the marathon stuff. I just went out there and had a go at the marathon, obviously trained a ton and did what I did. But when I came into the Ironman stuff, I thought I'm a really top level athlete, top level, I was good. Then I went and worked with a coach. The first thing that he taught me, see, I could have done the Ironman by myself and I could have probably done okay. The first thing he taught me was I needed to change all of my training based around heart rate. Now, I'd never done anything to do with heart rate when I ran the marathon. I remember crossing the line. I did 3:30 in my first marathon. I remember crossing the line being like, shit, I had more in the tank. And the reason that I did that wrong is because I wasn't using the right strategy. When I got into the Ironman stuff, I used the right strategy. I came third in Australia. The difference of someone doing crypto by themselves is that you might do okay and figure some stuff out. Your drawdowns are probably going to be bigger. Sometimes you might go through and get scammed with phishing scams or not managing your assets and the exchange implodes or whatever it is. But you'll never reach the top levels because you don't have the time to dedicate to this like I have. I've done my 20,000 plus hours. My Ironman coach had done 16 Ironmans. I'd done none. So if I can get 16 Ironmans worth of wisdom and pay him to do that, I can fast track my knowledge to 16 Ironmans on my first one that I did. And that's the difference of working with a 16 Ironman or a multi-million-dollar crypto investor, fund creator, etc. You're working with someone that's got this knowledge and that pulls you straight to the point, so you don't have to go through the 10,000 hours of learning lessons, which you don't have because you've got a full-time job probably, you've got kids, you've got other areas of focus. So it's just a fast track to the destination the smoothest way possible. And people will do this themselves and they will lose 50 grand, 100 grand, hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars. And then they say, oh, I need to know how to do this properly. And then they go and invest in a mentor. And then they're like, oh, okay, I learned all of these things that I did wrong. And now I know where I'm going. And now I can see there's light at the end of the tunnel and there's a path. And that's how I would also look at this. That's how I position myself. And that's why I see such great value in what we do over here. Because we're driving from experience, we're driving from results, and a whole history of other people getting results as well. Anyone can be successful in anything that they do if they have the right path, the right strategies, the right risk management, and the level of desire. If you want to be a professional golf player, you can be a professional golf player, but you have to put the work in and get the right guidance in order to do that. And it's relentless. And there's shit days on the golf course. Doesn't matter how good you are, you still put one in the bushes, or you miss the green and you get 2 chips on, whatever it is. And it's just about having the desire to get the outcome. And why wouldn't you want to have the desire in the fastest performing asset class in history?
I agree, Joe. And the reason why I was laughing to myself while you were saying that, you said, you could be a golfer, and I'm thinking, yeah, I could be a golfer. And then I go, no, I couldn't. Why? Because I wouldn't put in the work.
Yeah, because you don't have the desire to be a pro golfer.
No, I don't. It's just a funny meme in my head.
You have a desire to live an exceptional life with less input. So if you can get your money to work for you instead of working all the time for money, that's when you start to free yourself. And that's where this gap starts to build. And that's why, like I said, what did I do this morning? I was out jet skiing, cruising up and down the river, hanging out at a cafe after, and I've literally only just got into work for this podcast. And I'll do this, and I'll clock off, and then I'm going to go out and exercise. So it's the difference of the reality of what you can create. Everyone can have what I have. I am not special. I am just super dedicated to my future because I like spending a ton of time with my kids. I love my health and fitness. I love my spiritual work. I love going out into the mountains on my motocross bike or whatever it is. I can do whatever I want because I've had that dedication and nothing got in the way.
And you put in the work. I want to remind people, this isn't a magic overnight success Joe Shew. It's a guy who was dedicated, knew what he wanted, and put in the work, and it wasn't all roses, I bet.
And I will add, over the last 12 years, I've only ever worked 9 till 3. I've never worked outside of 9 to 3. And now I typically work maybe 2 meetings a day where I chat with my team and then check in on some other stuff. So I'm doing 2 to 3 hours work a day. And when I started out, I was only ever doing 6 hours a day. So I've done my 10,000 hours even before getting into crypto, where I went to every Tony Robbins event, which I flew around the world. I've had a quantum coach for 10 years. I've gone away and done 3 Vipassana retreats. I've done DMT ceremonies nearly every year. I meditate every day. Like, I've done so much work on my own personal growth and development that when I come into something, I'm instantly incredible at it, ego aside, because I've done the work on myself. And that's the difference. I could go into real estate, I could go into stocks, because I carry myself with me. And that's why I think the whole analogy around building Formula One drivers, that's the most important part that no other crypto education company is doing out there, because I've had feedback from our customers when I've asked them, and I'm like, what? They don't do that. And even Dirk in the mastermind, he's worked with tons of major crypto education publishers, and he said none of them talk about risk management. I was like, what? That's crazy. In like the most volatile market in the world, they don't talk about risk management. I can't comprehend that. So this is where it's the difference of working with someone that's fully evolved to someone who's just selling crypto courses. Right?
I think I'll wrap this up by saying, I know you, and I would characterize you as a guy who wants everyone around him to be successful, not just himself.
Absolutely.
And that's where it comes from.
And that's, I'm getting tingles in my body as you say that. That is my joy. Honestly, there's nothing greater to me than being able to hear people's success stories. When I went and worked, sorry, I know I talk too much, I will say the last thing. When I worked with Stansbury in the US, and I came in and I was sharing these experiences that our customers were having, they were just like, this is crazy. You know your customers personally, you know all these results and experiences that they get. And I say, yeah, because they're my family. Like when someone makes that decision to come on board and work with us, I treat them like my family. I respect them and I want the best for them. And that's what this is about. This is why I'm so happy. One of my friends is always like, why are you so happy, Joe? Because I'm actually stepping in true alignment to my purpose and what I've been put on this planet to do, which is help people live an incredible life, and cryptocurrency is the vehicle.
Love it. Joe, thanks so much. It was fun talking to you.